Hi kizomba and semba dancers. Here's another short video bridging time in this one. Cultures, continents and time. How did we come to dance kizomba and semba as we do today? Let's see. I'm going to keep this really short and just to give you an overview because it's a long and rich history with both the music and the dancing. But my intention here is just to give you sufficient understanding so that you might find some things that improve your dancing if that's what you're interested in. And our story will begin in the mid-50s when some Angolans who were hanging out with the Portuguese, the colonizers, they'd be called assimilados, like the assimilated people, the ones who were bridging the cultures in Angola, in where they were living, and bringing the influences to the natives. They would be observing the Westerners dancing their ballroom dances, and in this closed embrace, and what was going on in their dance ballrooms and salons, the danças, and the musical variations that were coming on strong. All of this was a mixture that was blended into the native cultures and the native music and the ways of dancing. Let's take a deeper look. So what was popular in the 50s? Music-wise, Latin music had been popular for over a decade already. And of course, a lot of the Latin rhythms were very familiar because originally they were West African rhythms that traveled with the human trafficking, also called the slavery, to the Latin America, to the Caribbean islands, Central, Southern America, and so on. And so those rhythms were familiar, and they were coming back in a new form, in the form of the Latin music, bolero, rumba, merengue, all this. What else was popular in the 50s was, of course, the electric guitar and the rock and roll. So all of this musical, rich influence was brought in. And if you've ever heard of a very influential band called Angolans, this is one name you might want to check up. Angolans has a guitarist called Liceu Vieira Dias. He brought the electric guitar into the music of Angolans. And ever since then, that has created a whole new style of music. Dance-wise, we'll look at this in a minute, but let's just check a little bit more of what happened in the music that caused so much changes. Latin rhythms were popular, and that music was imported under the record label called Plena. And the Angolans, for the sake of simplicity, would call the whole musical genre just simply plena. And mixed with their own, they created the music style that would be like semba social, traditional plus all the influences combined, created semba social. And this music had its golden age in the 60s, late 60s, early to mid 70s approximately. That's another thing that if you're really interested, you might want to look into music-wise. Very rich music, and you hear the amazing electric guitar influences there. Now, what happened in the dance part of all this was that Angolans started to dance in a close embrace, like the Western ballroom dancers did. But they mixed all of this, again, with their own styles. The traditional dance styles of Angola, they're usually solo dances, like traditional dances. But from here, you can see that the groundedness and the way they are the weight shift and how close they stay to the ground, how the power transmission comes through the earth, through their every joint up to their hips, and the jogo de cintura, the waist and the hip movement, that all comes from the traditional dances. Of course, it has been adapted to a couple dance, more upright in a closed embrace. But if you want to really improve your semba and kizomba dancing, Traditional dances are the first place to look. Angolans loved these rhythms, so they created their social semba. They created their own styles for Angolan rumba, Angolan merengue, Angolan semba, and so on. And as trends come and go, this is a strong trend again. These dances are becoming very popular. Outside of Angola, there are not so many places where you can learn them just yet. But, well, yours truly and some other teachers are teaching these dances already. And if you visit Angola, you will see this at every party. You may have already danced in Angola. So dance-wise, that's another thing. If you learn some of these dances, it'll help you in your creativity when you're dancing social semba. So evolution always moves forward, and since the Angolan semba and kizomba or semba social, these are recreative, urban, modern, contemporary dances. It means that they're always created anew. And the kids are always on the leading edge of this development. So the kids wanted to learn to dance in their way and not just how mom and pop were doing it. So come late 70s and so, they were already dancing in a very sensual, very closed embrace. And they were kind of looking for some other styles of music, not just what mom and pop were listening to and dancing to. And so early 80s coming along with new influences again, like synthesizers all over the 80s music. And also the zouk coming from the Antilles, the Caribbean rhythms of zouk. Africa went crazy about zouk. So all this combined created a new style of music that was led by Eduardo Paim and SOS band and some other musicians at that time. But Eduardo Paim is the father of the kizomba music. And that music got the name after some time, after it was already created. And here's this interesting anomaly, because usually it's the music that is leading the dance. But in this case, the dance existed before that music style was dedicated to it. Looking at how the dance keeps evolving ever since the 50s and the top dancers of today, there has been a lot going on, and that's how it's supposed to be. There is no such thing as traditional kizomba, because it's not a traditional dance. That's like the contradiction exactly there. Contemporary and recreational dances are always evolving. Traditional dances are meant to stay the same and not altered and evolving. So if you talk about older generations dance styles, like how people danced in the 80s and maybe through the 90s, yes, you see a difference. It's not traditional, it's just that time style. So the dance style of today keeps evolving so rapidly with the kids who are developing it. And every time I visit Luanda, I see something new. Something new's been brought into the dance, new step, stolen from some other dance or created on the spot by these incredibly acrobatic and athletic and sporty and crazy, wild, creative kids who dance it. It's really fun to watch. But you don't need to be an acrobat or an athlete to dance like them. You don't need to dance like them at all. You can enjoy your dancing and be really creative with the other stuff that you can bring in. Traditional and these older Latin styles that they mix to the dancing now. Because today's music, if we go from the 50s and the bringing in the electric guitar and evolving heavily with the electric guitar to the synthesizers, to electronic music done a lot by the computer, and to today's music. Today's music has basically no electronic instruments at all. Maybe not even electric guitar. It's very much acoustic instruments, a lot of traditional instruments and horns. that are brought in there. And the music gives so much space for creativity in your dancing. Hence, you can always use the steps that you learned in merengue, the steps that you learned in rumba, the steps that you learned in some of these other dances, and bring them into your social semba. What I would like for you to observe is how the traditional steps are the basis for all of the steps that we still do today. Adapted, of course, but they are still there. How are you going to apply all of that to your creative dancing? I'd love to know. Let me know. Write to me here below what you think, whatever your questions are. I'd be happy to answer you in the next videos. And if you like it, hit that thumb, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time.